Good afternoon, Spartans. It is time to start preparing for the 26-27 school year. So the purpose of this video will be to outline the scheduling process. We were also going to start with some graduation requirement review and then go into some new curriculum before we talk about what your students will go through as they schedule for the 26-27 school year. So just a requirement for graduation purposes, reminder that students need credits with a total of 22. They're outlined there as far as specifics. They also have some state testing requirements as well as seals, which can be seen on this screen here. Next, this is a document, and this is just a screenshot of a portion of it that I want to explain, but this is a document that all students received on Monday, February 9th. And also, this same document is attached to Parent Square Video that this is on as a PDF. This document shows all of our classes that we plan to offer for the 26-27 school year students can pick from. A couple things just to point out is that we ask students to please pay attention to the length. Some classes are 2 semesters, which is obviously a full year, while others are only a 1-semester class. We ask that they please pay attention to the level, making sure that they are in the correct grade to recommend that class, and that they have met the prerequisites. We have also included on here the GPA weight for each class, whether that is on a 4.0, a 4.5, or a 5.0 grading scale. So like I said, this is just a screenshot of the English department. However, the document that you receive and your students have received will show everything. Some new classes that we want to highlight for the 26-27 school year, starting with the English department. We are actually going to be taking our English 11 and 12 classes and joining those together. So our 11th and 12th graders will be together. Starting in the 26-27 school year, we are going to be offering this class on the left called Lit and Comp and Leadership. And then in the 27-28 school year, we will offer Real World Literature and Writing. These classes will start to alternate every other year. So if your child chooses to go this route, they might take Lit and Comp and Leadership as a junior, and maybe then they want to take Real World Literature and Writing as a senior, while a student who is one grade either below or above them might take those the opposite, and that's perfectly okay. Other new courses in our business department, we have built that pathway out. So we are now offering business administration. And I want to point out there at the bottom this idea of the CLEP exam. We're going to go further in depth to that, but point out that it does allow for a GPA bump as well as college credit similar to AP. And once again, we're going to go further into that here in a second. We are also planning to offer strategic entrepreneurship. One thing to point out there, that is on a 5.0 graded scale because that is a CTAG course. Moving over to our STEM, we have a couple new courses. Intro to Engineering and Manufacturing, which will be offered for our freshmen and sophomore only, will be very much like an intro-level course. We are then offering Engineering Principles, which is another CTAG course, so it's on a 5.0 graded scale. And then the last new course in STEM is this Computer-Aided Drafting and Design, which is also a CTAG course, which means it's on a 5.0 graded scale. The art department is adding a mixed media visual journaling class. And then a couple miscellaneous classes. One we are adding called Adolescent Psychology. This will be studying how the brain matures all the way up until it's fully developed at the age of 25. This is a semester course and also features that CLEP that we will talk about on the next slide, actually. And then another new class is a freshman seminar. This is going to be required for all of our new freshmen. During this class, we are going to be looking at several things. Students will be talking about the transition from middle school to high school, talking a lot about the study skills and just some of those transition skills to help them be prepared for high school, doing some goal setting during this time, as well as some career and post-secondary exploration. I went through that really quickly, some of the new classes. I'm also going to attach our program of studies that would have a description of all of these courses in depth. And as always, you can reach out to us here at Valley View, whether administration or counselors, to help out with any questions if that course of studies doesn't answer your questions for you. So I wanted to talk about CLEP. So a couple of our classes next year are going to feature CLEP exams. The classes are going to be Spanish 4, and Spanish 4A just means first semester, and B means second semester. Adolescent psychology is only a semester course. And then business administration. This is actually a full year course and will feature one CLEP. So we are partnering with a company called Modern States, which is going to provide us some checkpoints and curriculum to help prepare for these CLEP exams. And we are going to braid that into our class. Students will have an opportunity to take a practice CLEP exam towards the end of their class, and they can take this as many times as they would like. And this is completely up to the students if they choose to pursue the CLEP portion of the course or not. However, if they do, they get this free attempt at the CLEP exam. And then if they score high enough on the practice test, they now have a free attempt at the actual CLEP exam. If they don't score high enough on that practice test, the CLEP exam is $97. So definitely worthwhile to work on that practice exam and take advantage. Then when the student takes the CLEP exam, if they choose to go this far, if they score a 50 raw score out of 80 is what they're telling us, the student will score college credit similar to AP. So this whole idea of CLEP is also built by College Board, which is also in charge of AP classes. So if a student earns these scores on these tests, they will get AP college credit for these classes. They will also get a bump in their GPA to a 5.0. So for example, if you and I were both taking adolescent psychology, let's say you get an A in the class, you take the CLEP practice exam and score, and then you get a free attempt at the CLEP exam itself, and you score above that 50 mark, you will receive not only the college credit, but your A in the class is now going to be on a 5.0 graded scale for your transcript. However, if I also get an A in the class, but I do not get the raw score of 50 out of 80, then I would just get my A on a 4.0 scale, but it is still that A. So a little bit different there that we're going to try. And this is completely free for both our school, our staff, and our students. So next, we want to talk about what your children have received this week at school. So they received several things on Monday, and then also Tuesday through Thursday, they're going to the gym for a scheduling fair. So on Monday, they received a blank paper document to handwrite their course requests, and we're talking to them about that. This is a place where they can kind of fill out what they want to take for next year and start to brainstorm before we have one-on-one meetings, which we will talk about here in a second. They received the packet of all the courses offered during the 26-27 school year. That same packet is also going to be included after this video in this parent square that goes out. Several of our 8th and 9th grade students received course suggestions for core classes. That would be our recommendation on what they should take, whether that be, let's say, a student who's going into geometry. Should they take honors geometry or just regular geometry? And that's all backed by data. We can talk more about that if you'd like. And then some students also received a career suggestions based on their U-Science aptitudes and interest. So they should possibly have received all 4 of those, but not every kid received everything depending on several items. So the next step after this week will be the scheduling process. If the student is already in high school, so that would be speaking to our current 9th graders, 10th graders, and 11th graders, they are attending the scheduling fair this week during their advisory. We're asking them to please fill out the document between now and when scheduling meetings start on the 18th. And at that time, we will begin sitting down one-on-one with every single student. They will sit down with either a counselor or administrator to submit their request for next year, as well as a couple alternates. We always tell kids that we build the master schedule based on their request. However, just what they request, they might not get all that. So that's the importance of the alternates. Students will get their schedules back this year, and then they will have to make all changes to their schedule this year before we enter next school year. Excuse me. And then if they are a current 8th grader, they do not have the one-on-one meetings, but instead we will be coming into your class the week of February 17th to your history classes and walking you through how to submit your schedule request online. So hopefully this video was worthwhile. Hopefully, it answered a lot of questions and gave you an idea of what they're going through as far as the scheduling process. Please reach out if you have questions. And like I said, attached to this Parent Square where this video is found, you'll also find our full program of studies as well as the abbreviated that just shows the courses we're offered in each department for next year.